Hello students, myself Venkatesh and I am a lecturer in biology in SRPU College. So you already know that biology subject is a study of life or a study of living organisms. But the biology subject has been classified into two subcategories which are very broad branches in case of biology. That is, the first one is botany and the second one is the zoology. So the meaning of botany, it is the study of plants, and the exact meaning of the zoology is the study of animals. So as the zoology topic has been already started, so today I am going to engage the botany topic. So the first chapter in case of biology in first PUC, it is the living world. So for our convenience, we have classified the topics into botany and zoology. But before going to that, the biology subject, what it is actually. So biology, as I already told you, it is a study of life. So that life may be from microorganism to the macroorganism. Microorganism means any unicellular organisms. Okay, so all those things we are going to study in the biology topic. So that the chapter name, the first chapter, it is the living world. What it means, living world, the world of living organisms. So that living organism chapter is including all the organisms from microorganisms, that is unicellular organism, for example bacteria and amoeba, like that. From starting from the microorganisms to the end, that is the highly civilized one, that is the human being. All those things we are going to study in this chapter. Okay, so that for our convenient, we have classified the chapter into four sub topics. We call them as the synopsis. So exact meaning of the synopsis is a summary of the chapter. Synopsis means a summary or a superficial view of the chapter. So that four subtopics are there. The first one is what is living. There will be a question mark. That means we have to find the answer, what is living. So to study that, we have to study the characteristics of the organism. So that thing we are going to study in the first subheading. Second one is the diversity in the living organism. That means diversity in the living world. Diversity means variety. Third one is the taxonomic categories. Taxonomic categories means how we are going to classify this numerous number of the organisms. Fourth one is the taxonomical aids. That means aids means here it means it is a tools, the tools which are helping for us to classify the living organisms. So today we will study only regarding what is living. That means the characteristics of the living organisms. So before going to that, we should know the meaning of what is life and what is a living organism. In a broad manner, we know what is life and what is living organism. But in a biological view, what is a life? Life is a unique. Unique means it is only one. It cannot be compared with other non-living objects. As well as life is unique, it is a complex organization of molecules. So it is a organization of molecules. Those molecules may be micro or may be macro. Starting from an atom ends with the DNA. As well as expressing through chemical reactions which leads to growth. Expressing through chemical reactions. That means whatever the reactions or whatever the processes that are occurring in the body of a living organism, it may be a unicellular, it may be a multicellular, all those expressions are in the form of chemical reactions. That's why we should have the knowledge of chemicals. So whenever any chemical reaction occurs, it leads to growth of the body, next development, that means from the juvenile stage into maturity. Responsiveness, that means responding to the external stimuli. Responsiveness is different, reaction is different. Non-living objects, they are always reacting, but the living organism is responding. So we will study that in subsequent chapters. As well as adaptation. So adaptation means adjustment with the environment. For example, a fish can live only in water. It cannot survive on the land. Like that, a fish is having the adaptation to live in water. Like that, a bird can fly. It is having the adaptation like it is having a wings, isn't it? But we cannot fly because we don't have the wings. So that is every single organism is having certain adaptation to survive in the particular environment. and reproduction. Every single organism in the world is having the potential to reproduce its own offspring. Okay, so all these molecules, when they are chemically reacted, these processes will occur. So this entire thing we call it as a life. So this is the biological meaning of the life. Second one is, what is the meaning of living organism? If we are calling anything as a living organism, what it should do, or what may be its characteristics? A living organism is self-replicating. So here replicating means duplication or simply multiplication, or else we can also use the word reproduction. A living organism is a self-replicating. It has to reproduce its own offspring without help of any external particles. Comma, it's a self-evolving. A living organism is a self-evolving one. Evolving, evolution means changes in the characters over the generations. Okay, that means no living organism stays in a same position for a millions of years. As one example, we can say, we used to say that man is from the monkey. That means monkey has been developed into man, isn't it? That means monkey has evolved, monkey has got some characters to become a man. We call it as a evolution. So that a living organism should have a self-evolution. And a living organism is a self-regulating. So here regulating means controlling. A living organism should control itself. But any non-living object, for example any electronic gadgets, it cannot operate itself. One human being has to control it, but in case of living organism, its body functions are controlled by itself. Interactive system capable of responding to external stimuli. External stimuli, any foreign particle, if they appears us, we used to respond. Again the same word we have used, responding. There it is responsiveness, not reaction, response. Okay, reaction. If we throw any ball to the wall, it will come. It is a reaction. Like that, if we throw any ball to any person, he will not react, he will respond to us, isn't it? So that it's an interactive system capable of responding to external stimuli. Such organism, such thing or such object, we call it as a living organism. So these two are the exact meaning of what is life and what is living organism. Very important. So next, properties of living organisms. Properties, here it refers to characters of the living organism. If we are calling anything as a living organism, what properties or what character that object has to possess. That means we cannot call a living organism for everything, isn't it? That thing, it has to possess some of the characters. That thing we are going to study in this subtopic. So that broadly in the properties of living organism, we have total 5 characters. Those 5 are strictly for the living organism, not possessed by any other. Okay, so in that the first one is the growth. So the general meaning of the growth is the irreversible changes occurring in the living organism body, isn't it? We call it as a growth. So in the chapter, it is the increase in mass and increase in number of individuals. So this is giving the meaning of the growth. Increase in mass, increase in the body mass, and increase in number of individuals. So this increase in number of individuals is in case of unicellular organism, for example bacteria and amoeba, like that. So in such organisms, one bacteria can divide into 2. So that can also be considered as a growth. So growth occurs by cell division. If we are saying any organism, any plant, any animal, human being, it is showing the growth. What it means? What should happen in the body? Cell division has to occur. Not getting fatter. Getting fatter in the human being is not a growth. If volume or the mass of the body increases due to cell division, we call it as a growth. In the plants, the growth continues throughout their lifespan, whatever the lifespan may be. But in animals, growth is only up to a certain age. So this is very important. In case of plants, the growth is throughout the lifespan. Growth is nothing but the cell division. Okay. So in case of plants, the growth is continuous throughout the lifespan. That means as long as the plant lives, the cell division in the plant body occurs continuously. But in case of animals, it is restricted to certain age. For example, in human beings, the growth occurs only up to 18 years. 18 years is the maximum, isn't it? After the 18 years, we can't increase our height. Remember this. But however, some people used to get fatter than after 18 years they used to get fat. Okay, that is not a growth. That is due to accumulation of the fat in the body. That one we cannot consider as a growth. But that doesn't mean that in the animal body till the death there is no cell division. Not like that. There will be cell division, but those cell division occurs only for wound healing. Whenever any organism body, any multicellular organism body get injury, to repair that, cell division used to occur, but those cell division won't contribute for the growth of the organism. So that is what the major difference between plants and the animals. In case of plants, the cell division occurs due to the presence of the meristems, but meristems are absent in case of the animals. Basically, growth is the increase in mass and size, as already we have discussed. In a living organism, growth is from inside, but in case of non-living object, the growth is outside. This is very important. In living organism, growth is from inside. What it means? Cell division occurs inside the body. That's why the mass of the body increases. It may be human being, animal, plant, or anything. But the word growth is, as I already told you, it is not a biological word. Growth is a general word. That growth we can also apply to the non-living object. For example, any snowy mountains. During winter season, there is the deposition of the snow. So that during winter season, if we measure the height of the mountain, it used to show increase in height. During the summers, there is no snow. When we measure that, the height used to be less. That's why growth is a characteristic but not a defining property of a living organism. Okay, this is what our conclusion at the end of the growth. What? Growth is a character. Growth is a character of living organism, but it is not a defining property of living organism. Defining property. Defining means anything that defines something. For example, definition, we are having definitions for several words, isn't it? That sentence is defining that word. Like that, growth cannot define a living organism, but growth can be a character. Understood? So this is the first character of the living organism. Second one is the reproduction. So general meaning you already know, production of the progeny or the production of the young one by parents. So it is the production of progeny having features similar to those of parents. Organism reproduce asexually and sexually. There is two types of reproduction. One is asexual, another one is sexual. In case of asexual, only one parent is involving. In case of sexual reproduction, two parents are involving. Two parents means one is male, another one is female. So let us see some examples for reproduction. In case of fungi, the mode of reproduction is asexual as well as sexual, but in case of asexual reproduction, they are reproducing by the production of asexual spores. So here spores refers to haploid structures. They are the haploid structures. As and when they attains the nutrients, they will germinate and they will produce the new organism. Like that, in case of yeast and hydra, there is a budding process. So budding is also a mode of asexual reproduction. It is the extra outer growth from the parental body. Like that, the third one, in case of planaria, the mode of reproduction is by true regeneration. So planaria is an animal, belongs to the phylum Platyhelminthes. So what it means, true regeneration? In planaria, if we cut the organism's body, the each and individual piece of the body will grow and it will develop into a new individual. So that is the capacity of that organism. So we cannot observe the character of true regeneration in all the organisms. It is specific to some of the organisms. Fourth one is in case of filamentous organisms. Filamentous. Filament means thread-like body. Some of the algae. So in such organisms, the mode of reproduction is by the process of fragmentation. So here fragmentation means the filamentous body, that is the thread-like body, will break down into several pieces. Those individual fragment can grow up to a new individual. Like that, if we consider any higher animals as well as any higher plants, the mode of reproduction will be sexual type, by mating both male and female parent, by a fusion of both male and female gametes, the new organism will be developing. So these are the some of the examples for reproduction character. In unicellular organism, so this is very important sentence, in unicellular organism, growth and reproduction are synonymous. Growth and reproduction are synonymous because they reproduce by cell division. So here we should keep in mind that we are talking about only unicellular organism. For example, amoeba. So we can consider the amoeba organism. So in amoeba or any bacteria, if one bacteria or one amoeba becomes two, so what we have to call it, whether it is a growth or whether it is a reproduction. So there will be a confusion. That's why we can use both words, both growth as well as the reproduction, only in case of unicellular organism, because unicellular organism reproduce by cell division. In multicellular organism, cell division is for growth, reproduction is depending on the other processes. But unicellular organisms are having only one process to do the reproduction, that is only cell division. That's why it is a synonymous. So exact meaning of the synonymous is similar. In English we used to use the word synonym words. That means a single word can have many meanings, like that. Many organisms do not reproduce. For example, we have some examples here. One is the mule, another one sterile worker bees, and as well as the infertile human couples. So that we cannot consider reproduction as a defining property, but it is a character, like growth. Growth and reproduction are the character of the living organism, but they are not defining a living organism. Why? Because they have given the example here. Mules, you might have heard this word. Mule is not a species, it is a crossbreed between male donkey and female horse, isn't it? So that mule is living, but it cannot produce another mule. That means it is a impotent one, it cannot produce another one. Like that, sterile worker bees, honeybees, you know, honeybees are commonly, they are not solitary, they are colonial in form, they are always present in a group. So when we observe carefully those honeybees, that honey bee hive is mainly consisting three categories of the organism. One is queen, it is always single in number, and it is female and it is fertile. Second one is called as the drones. So drones are fertile male. So female is there, male is there. There is another category, we call them as the worker bees. As the name indicates, they are working only. They used to wander around the forest and they used to collect the nectar from the flowers and they are preparing the honey for us. But those worker bees are sterile, they cannot reproduce. So that is the second example. Like that, the third one, coming to the human beings, infertile human couples. Some human couples, they cannot produce their children due to various physiological reasons. That's why we cannot consider only reproduction as a defining property of any living organism like growth, because in case of growth, non-living objects can also show the growth. Like that, in case of reproduction, some of the organisms cannot reproduce. That's why growth and reproduction are the characters, but they are not a defining property of a living organism. They cannot define the living organism. So what are the defining properties then? So we will look into next slide. So third one is the metabolism. So as I already told you, we are having total 5 characters, all are the characters only, but out of those 5, 2 are not defining and remaining 3 are the defining properties of the living organism. The third one, metabolism. So you might have heard this. The definition for it is the sum total of all biochemical reactions taking place inside a living system. So here living system refers to any live cell, any biochemical reaction, chemical reaction, various chemical reactions are taking place inside a cell. For example, DNA replication is there. If we observe the plant cell, photosynthesis will be there. If we observe any cell, respiration will be there. Protein synthesis will be there. Various ions used to be exchanged with the outer environment. Okay, so all these chemical reactions, the sum total, so that metabolic reaction can be a catabolic or can be anabolic. So what are those catabolic and anabolic reaction? Catabolic reaction is nothing but it is a energy releasing process. Example, respiration. Like that, what is anabolic reaction? It is energy consuming reaction. Example, photosynthesis. So that all together we call them as a metabolism. So that, as I told, as I already given you some example, photosynthesis, respiration, protein synthesis, DNA replication, exchange of ions between the cell, between the external environment. So that these reactions are taking place only inside a living cell. That's why we can consider metabolism as a defining feature of living organism. However, metabolic reactions can be demonstrated outside the body in cell-free systems. Isolated metabolic reactions in vitro. In vitro means inside the glass tube. Vitreous means glass. In vitro means inside the glass tube or inside any conical flask, glass conical flask. Are the reactions which are undergoing inside the test tubes or inside the laboratory are not living things but are living reactions. We can call them as living reactions, but they are not metabolic reaction. So that metabolism or metabolic reactions, they are defining feature of the living organism. So next comes is the fourth character, that is the cellular organization. So what it means? All the organisms are made up of one or more cells, isn't it? When we observe any unicellular organism, its entire body is consisting only single cell, and the single cell is capable of performing all the body functions, respiration, digestion, excretion, everything it can perform. Like that, if we consider any multicellular organism, for example human being, we are having organ system level and all the cells are involving in production of those organ systems. Okay, that's why cellular organization is the defining feature of a living organism. It's a character as well as is a defining feature. It is defining a living organism. There is no exception. We cannot observe cellular organization in case of non-living objects. We cannot observe metabolism in case of non-living objects. So cell, you know the meaning of it. It's a structural and functional unit of any body. Okay. So metabolism, cellular organization, both are defining property of the living organism. Like that, there is a fifth character. It is called as consciousness. So consciousness, it is the fifth property or a fifth character of a living organism. So what it means? What is the consciousness? It is the ability of organism to sense their environment and respond to environmental stimuli. So we have used the word sense as well as we have used the word respond, not reaction, because non-living objects can react but they cannot respond. But the living organisms can respond to the external stimuli. Example for the external stimuli we have listed out here. First one is the light. That best example is the plant. If we grow the plant in the sunlight, they will produce their productivity, they will do the photosynthesis, otherwise they won't. That means they are responding to the sunlight. Second one, water. All the living organisms are depends on the water. 97% of the cell is water. Temperature, we are sensitive to the temperature. Whenever temperature is higher outside, we used to come to the colder regions, like that. As well as responding to other organisms, responding to other chemicals, responding to other pollutants. For example, dust particles. Whenever we inhale any dust particle, we used to show some response. forcefully, our lungs used to forcefully expire the air to remove that foreign particle. So that this ability to sense the environment as well as the external particle, this character is called as the consciousness. So what they are telling, actually all organisms are aware of their surroundings. No single organism we can say that it is not aware. All living organisms, starting from unicellular to multicellular organisms, all are having awareness of their surrounding. But the specific one here is human is the only organism having the self-consciousness. So this is a special word. Consciousness is general word we can use for all the organisms, but self-consciousness, human is the only organism who is having self-consciousness. That means which is good and which is bad, we can only notify that, but other organisms they cannot distinguish that. They are living, they are showing they respond to the external stimuli and all, but human is the only organism we can distinguish which is good and which is bad. That's why our conclusion at the end of the topic is consciousness is the defining property of a living organism as well as it is a characteristic. So that at the end of this topic we have listed total 5 characteristics or the 5 properties of living organism, starting from growth, reproduction, metabolism, 4th one is cellular organization, 5th one is the consciousness. Okay, it's a very important 5 marks question in the annual examination. And out of those 5, 3 are defining property, another 2 are not defining property but their characters. Which are those 3? Metabolism, cellular organization, and the 5th one is the consciousness. So at the end of this topic there is an exercise in the textbook. They have asked one question like what will you call a person whose brain is dead? They have asked a question, so you have to find the answer for that. For example, if any accident, severe accident happens, what will happen? Their brain gets dead. So that what will happen? That patient will goes into coma. Doctor used to say that patient is in coma. What is the stage of that? Whether that coma patient is in a living state or non-living state. They asked us to answer for that. Okay, you try to find the answer for that. So that is one question. There is another question is also there. What will you call a person or an object who is under the operation, heart operation? That means example, he is using the heart lung machine. That means entire heart is not functioning, so they are using the heart lung machine to pump the blood. What will you call it? Whether that person is dead or alive. So that you find the answer for those questions, and let us meet in the next lecture. Thank you.